Jerk again. Just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update. It's been a while since I posted a video. So yes, I am still at it. Still pursuing the whole trucking thing. And let's see, today is the 13th of January. And right before Christmas on the 21st of December, on a Monday morning, bright and early, did my test for my CDL license and ended up passing on the first go, passing all three parts, so that was good. Was very happy about that. It's quite an interesting day. I've done quite a bit of studying, quite a bit of preparing, and had everything down pretty well. But it's really interesting that once you get there and you're in the truck or outside of the truck or whatever, once you're in the presence of the inspectors and they have that little clipboard and they're grading you and not saying a word to you, yeah, things change rather dramatically. So I'm not usually one to get nervous in testing situations, but yeah, that was a little bit intense. But started off with the pre-trip inspection, and that's something that I had studied so much. I could just recite word for word verbatim the whole thing start to finish. I could do it just in my head, and I'm in the truck, and we're going through the in-cab inspection, and of course the instructor sitting there quietly with his clipboard, and I'm talking about the seat belt and the fire extinguisher and the spare fuses and all of that good stuff, and go through the brake test, did the engine on brake test and the engine off brake test, all of that stuff. I was just sailing through it and just on top of my game and thinking, yeah, okay, I got this. This is easy, easy peasy. And get to the end and wrapped it up, and the guy turns to me and he said, yeah, well, you did great. He said, you nailed everything, but what about signals? I'm like, huh? Apparently, I completely blew over the indicator lights section of the in-cab. That just goes to show you. I did that over and over and over and over again. I knew the stuff, so I would go from the gauges to the indicator lights. The left turn signal, right turn signal, blah blah blah. I skipped the entire thing. Didn't even realize I had done it. But luckily, if there was something to miss, it was one of those and not any of the brake tests, because the brake test has to be perfect. So I passed, so that's the main thing, but I got quite a chuckle out of it. Actually, he kind of got quite a chuckle out of it too, because he said, you were blasting through that stuff, like you were giving a course. He said, I was actually kind of surprised that you missed that, but that's what happens. You just get thrown off by having somebody sitting there silently with a clipboard. So then we went outside of the truck, did the connections and couplings and all of that, breezed through that. I was probably, I want to say, about halfway through Form C, and he just stopped me. I think I was at the side, the side marker light on the trailer, and he just stopped me. And he goes, you know your stuff. You've got the rest of it. You passed. And I'm like, oh, okay. But apparently I had enough points, and he wanted to just move along. He knew I knew what I was doing, so that was nice. So passed the pre-trip, went back to my car, waited, then got called out to the truck to do the skills, the offset backing and parallel park, all that stuff. Got in the truck, did all of that, pretty automatic. Didn't have any concerns, any stress at all. On that test, the instructor's not in the truck with you. They're out on the yard watching you. So got all that, parked it where I should in the box, backed it up straight. Didn't hit any cones, didn't hit any lines. So past that, that was fine. I went directly from that truck. When I got out of the truck, they said, hey, a road test truck is open. Just go over there and get in truck number 3 or number 4 or whatever it was. And, oh, okay. So I didn't have any time to take a little breather or regroup, refocus, whatever. I just went straight from that one truck cab to the other. Jumped in. There was another inspector there with his clipboard. Said good morning, and that's about it. So we took off on the road test. Road test, piece of cake. Was going great. Shifting well, downshifting well, turning well, braking well, stopping well, all of it going great. And this school that I went to has manual transmissions, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to actually go to a school, because I wanted to learn manual transmissions. But the trucks we were using, they're ancient, like 20 plus years old Mack day cabs, single axle day cabs. Basically held together by duct tape. And I shouldn't say that. I mean, they were in good operating condition, but very, very old. Each one of them had its own quirks. Had a different feel for the clutch, just a completely different feel. And the truck I was in was one of the better ones, thankfully. So I'm going through this whole road test. Everything's going great. I guess you could say my defenses were down. I was comfortable and just cruising along. And at the very end of the road test, the particular route that the school runs, you come down this, I want to say 45 mile per hour, two lanes in each direction, separated by a median, 45 miles per hour. And you come to a traffic light and you stop and you're making a left turn. And so waited at this stoplight, and it turned green. So proceeded into the intersection. I started off in third gear. I was able to switch it up into fourth before I had to start turning. And what they were teaching us is that once you start turning, do not shift. Whatever gear you're in, stay in that gear, even if you're moving slow, for the test. So that's what I did. I was in fourth gear, and I started turning, so I just left it in fourth gear. And as I straightened out into the right lane, going through the turn, once the truck was straight and I was in the lane, I switched it to fifth gear, and chugging along, going up through fifth gear, hitting the right RPM, and I was going to shift to sixth, and I missed the gear. How, I have no idea, because I hadn't missed a gear in several days. But there I was, going from fifth to sixth, and I missed it. So I don't remember exactly because it all happened so fast. I realized I had missed the gear. I tried again to put it into a gear. I don't know if I tried to put it into sixth again or tried to put it into fifth or whatever. It wouldn't go. It balked. So I just kept my head about me, and back into neutral. Let the clutch out. Rev it up, put the clutch back in, and then popped it. And I ended up popping it back into fifth gear and getting it within a couple of seconds, and just proceeded to drive as if nothing happened. And so I got back to our yard and came to a stop and parked the truck and set the brakes and blah blah blah. And he goes, "Well, you passed." He said, "You did great. You're actually a very, very good handling the truck, and you shift smooth, and you drove very well." He said, "Your missed gear." He said, "Yeah, you missed the gear, but you were able to recover it quick enough. Apparently, you've got 4 seconds. At least in Illinois, you've got 4 seconds to recover, and if you're not able to get it into gear and recover within those 4 seconds, you fail." So he said he counted 2 seconds. It seemed like an eternity to me. It seemed like a minute and a half. But I was just, the only thing I was trying to do was not to freak out. And, I was just looking at RPM and just feeling, I don't know, I don't even remember specifically what I was doing, but I know it just kind of came down to feel. It came down to like just sensory, I could hear the engine, I could feel the speed, I just kind of knew, like the first gear that I tried, I knew that was wrong, and then it's like, okay, no, wait, we've slowed down enough, I'm going to pop it back into fifth, and sure enough, it took it. So, I guess by the skin of my teeth, avoided a catastrophe, but I avoided it, so that's the main point. So I did get I got my license, I got it approved. That was on the 21st, that was a Monday. The 22nd, on a Tuesday, I went to the Department of Motor Vehicles, Illinois Secretary of State. Because of COVID, um, the oh, hang on a second. Oh, sorry about that. My computer locked up. Because of COVID, the Illinois Secretary of State's office, there's only 2 of them that are open. One in Elk Grove and I believe one in Elgin, somewhere out there. But they're only open for CDL. They're only open for commercial drivers. And so I went there Tuesday morning to the Elk Grove office, which is right by O'Hare Airport. And holy cow, ended up spending almost the entire day there because it was so crowded. So many drivers there waiting. But I was determined to get my actual license. And while I was there, I realized, that it was such a long wait and such a busy place that even though I hadn't planned on it, I wanted to go ahead and take my endorsement tests. I hadn't studied it as much as I would have liked to, but I didn't want to have to come back there and spend an entire, half a day or a day going there to get the endorsements that I wanted. So I just asked the guy, hey, I want to take the endorsement test. And he goes, okay, which one? And I said, well, I want to take hazmat, I want to take tankers, and I want to take doubles and triples. He kind of pulled his reading glasses down, looked at me over his glasses, and goes, you want to take all of them? I said, yeah, take all of them on here. He kind of rolled his eyes, okay, you're going to fail or whatever. I'm like, whatever, dude, just give me the tests. So I went over, sat down at a little computer terminal, Terminal 11, actually, I remember it. Sat there and started the, tapping on the screen to start going through the tests. I don't remember which one it started off with. Doesn't matter. But as I went through and I'm tapping the answers, and all of a sudden, by the 16th or 18th question or something like that, it said, congratulations, you passed. I guess I had enough correct answers that it just stops the test and goes to the next one. The next test, same thing. It stopped. It's congratulations, da-da-da. Third one, same thing. So I want to say it took about 15 minutes all total, and got back up from the computer terminal, walked over back up to his counter, and he seemed a little bit surprised to see me there after 15 minutes. He goes, you done? Or actually he said, is there a problem? And I said, no, there's no problem. He goes, oh, you finished? I said, yeah, I finished. Like, oh, okay. Oh, you passed them. Okay, great. So you passed all 3. It's like, okay. I don't know. Maybe it takes people longer to do them. It didn't seem like a big deal to me. So I got the endorsements. So I've got hazmat. I had gone, thankfully, about 2 months before I had gone to an office here in suburban Chicago to get fingerprinted and all that stuff for the TSA. Because for a hazmat endorsement, you need TSA approval, so they have to do a background check and all of that before they'll give you a hazmat endorsement, which makes sense. Kind of an anti-terrorism thing. They don't want you handling hazardous materials if you have some ill intent. So luckily, I had done that way in advance because it took forever for that to come back. I guess they're pretty backlogged, but the Secretary of State had it in there that I had been given the TSA blessing. So I got it all there on my license. They gave me my temporary license, said the original will come in the mail. And I left there happy camper. Fast forward about a week and a half later, the physical license showed up in the mail just as they said. So I have the CDL and very happy about that. So obviously one major hurdle, one major chapter finished on the journey. And the next thing was going to decide which company to finally settle on, which company to go to. A lot of companies that I had talked to, I kid you not, I probably talked to 30 plus companies and really tore through their information pretty voraciously. That's kind of how I am. When I do something, I tear into it pretty good. It's always a matter of personal choice, obviously, who you decide to go to. And there are always motivators that are personal as well. Whatever your hot button seems to be or whatever your preferences seem to be, that's kind of where you gravitate towards. For me, I didn't want to be going to a company that had a super, super long onboard training thing. Now, before you get all crazy and talk about how they don't train drivers enough and all that stuff, I get that. I get that argument, and a big part of me agrees with it. The more training you get, the better. The thing with me, though, is that I tend to be a self-starter, and I tend to do much better if I'm on my own. I was that way in school as well. In group situations, and if I have too much structure with it, I don't do well with that. I do very, very well when I tackle something on my own. And if I have enough basic knowledge, I'm a super careful, super conscientious person. So, my thought was that, the best teacher in any situation that I've ever had in life is when you are thrown in the grease, so to speak, when you are left to your own devices, and they say, okay, go, run, figure it out. And that's how I've always done the best. Again, I'm very careful. I'm the first person to say, that I'm not an expert at something, and that I do need to learn. And because of that, it applies to trucking as well. I know that I'm brand new. I know that I don't have any experience. I know that I have a whole lot to learn, and it's going to take time. The approach that I plan to take is to just use common sense, and just be careful. Be very, very hyper aware of surroundings all the time. Be aware of conditions. Use common sense. Use the laws of physics, which I do understand quite well. Laws of momentum, inertia, all of that stuff. And as long as you're applying all of that and really paying attention and giving yourself lots of distance and lots of room, I figured I'll be okay. And I'll learn through all the experiences that I have. So anyway, all that said, I decided to go with Schneider. One of the big reasons why I chose them is that they have quite a reputation. They do have, and I know I've watched enough YouTube videos to know that there are a boatload of super truckers out there that constantly berate the mega carriers, and the mega carriers are terrible and they're crap and they're this and they're that, and all well and good. I get it. However, when you're brand new and you have zero experience, these are the only companies that are going to hire you and give you the first basics of training that you need to be able to get jobs at all these other carriers. Because these big companies, for the most part, I'm assuming, I don't know this for sure, but based on my knowledge of corporate business, I'm assuming companies like Schneider, like Swift, like these big companies, they're big enough to where they probably self-insure. And because they self-insure, they are able to take inexperienced drivers and train them. Whereas a mid-size or smaller company probably does not have the capital, the size and the capital to self-insure, and so they probably are reliant on what their insurance companies tell them, and their insurance companies tell them, hey, we need experienced drivers. We are not going to insure inexperienced drivers. So that's kind of my gut feeling. Again, I don't know if that's the case or not for sure, but that's kind of what I'm gathering is probably the case. So anyway, Schneider has an excellent safety reputation. They're safety. They're all about safety. They have no employment contract. That's another big thing. I talked to a few carriers that were, sounded like really good carriers, sounded like they had really good programs. The thing that I objected to personally was a contract. I'm, as of today, actually, it's my birthday, and I just turned 55. So, at my age, I've been around the block a few times, and I know that I will never, ever work under an employment contract. Ever. I won't do it. I don't care who the company is. I don't care what the situation is. If you as a company need to contract people to keep them with you, that is a huge red flag to me. And take it a step further, it actually has the risk of being what I would call a profit center, to where if the company were a little bit unscrupulous, what's to stop them from having a little bit of a side business by, let's say they need 10 drivers. Well, let's go ahead and bring 20 of them into orientation. We'll take 20 drivers coming in, and we'll, find reasons to get rid of 10 of them. So we'll have our 10 drivers that we need, and those other 10 that we get rid of, let's go chase after them for several $1,000s. So that's what those contracts, at least to me, that's what they sound like. Maybe I'm a grumpy old man. Maybe I'm jaded. Whatever you want to call it. I prefer to call it experience with life. And I know that, there are certain things you can trust and certain things you can't. An employment contract, never, ever, ever, ever trust it. It's never in your best interest. So I will not do that. So Schneider has no contracts. Are they the greatest paying carrier in the world? No, they're not. Are they terrible pay? No, they're not. They're fair for a brand new driver, coming in and having zero experience. They pay well, and it's all relative. Are there companies that pay more? Of course there are, but they don't hire new drivers, so it's a moot point. Also, Schneider is close to where I live. I'm in the Chicago area. Schneider's headquartered up in Green Bay. They have a major terminal in Gary. Their Chicago terminal is actually in Gary, Indiana. So everything is convenient. Everything's close. So that's where I will be going. Today is the 13th of January, and I start on the 19th of January. So this coming Tuesday is when orientation starts. So I plan to go down there on Monday afternoon, check into the hotel, wake up at dark 30 on Tuesday, and be down in the lobby to get your temperature taken and get on the little shuttle bus and go off to the terminal and start orientation. Orientation should be somewhere between 15 and 18 days. That is spent at their terminal in Gary. And that's all combination of classroom and yard training with the actual trucks. I'm sure they're going to do a whole bunch of training on backing and maneuvering and all that good stuff. Familiarizing yourself with all their equipment, their policies, their procedures, their Qualcomm or whatever they have, all of their internal rules and all of that good stuff. So that should be 15 to 18 days. And then at the completion of that, you go on the road with a trainer. Schneider calls them training engineers. The time on the truck with a training engineer, I believe, is like 5 days, where you go out with this trainer and sleep in the truck, do all that good stuff. And I think they had said it's like 5 days, but if there's a delay at a shipper or a receiver, or there's weather or something like that, it could be 6, could be 7, whatever. But they try to make it around a week, about 5 days. And when you come back from that, if your trainer signs off on you, you're a solo driver and you have your truck. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. I'm ready to get going. We had the holidays break in between, which kind of shut everything down. So I'm kind of antsy. I want to get moving, want to get this going. I'm actually very happy to be doing this in the wintertime, because I'm hoping that somewhere in here we do get some snow, because it was always my intention that when I would train with my first company, I was always hoping that I could do it in winter weather, because it would be good to get the feel for what the truck does in snow conditions and stuff while I am there with a trainer. If so, great. If not, okay. Then, you know, my first snow, I'll just have to be super careful and feel it out on my own. But it would be nice. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. So for the next 3 weeks or so, I'll be wrapped up doing that. I don't know if I'll be able to do any videos. I'll see. Maybe in the evening, you know, after school, I can kind of give an update as to how that's going and what's going on there. So anyway, that's it for now. Schneider, here I come. I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.